Well, as of last night, two men have emerged at the far front of the Republican race to the White House, Mitt Romney and, of course, Ron Paul. Now, the mainstream press seemed taken aback, completely taken aback, as the 76-year-old Texas congressman emerged to be a serious threat, not just to the establishment, Republican establishment, but to the race to the White House. Now, while Paul's surging popularity may be news to some, that's not necessarily the case for those who have been tuned into this network. Take a look.
There is no doubt in my mind that the majority is on our side. We represent the majority of the American people.
What I am is pro-freedom, pro-trade, and pro-America.
All right, so we've been covering the candidate and his message back since 2008, but at that time, his ideas were mostly dismissed as fringe, out of touch with reality. But in 2012, today's day and age, it seems like a different narrative is, in fact, emerging. One where issues like civil liberties, ending America's numerous conflicts abroad and at home, corruption on Wall Street and K Street are suddenly not so crazy after all. So although the political establishment and the mainstream media will still likely continue to dismiss him as a fringe candidate, we did want to talk about what Ron Paul's surge means and what it says about this country. I mean, what's changed? It certainly doesn't seem to be Ron Paul, so is it us? Well, let's see if my next guest can give us some ideas. Matt Welch is the editor-in-chief of Reason magazine. He's also the co-author of the book Declaration of Independence: How Libertarian Politics Can Fix What's Wrong with America. All right, Matt, well, break it down for us. What's behind the surge? Why now?
I think the first thing to recognize is how much of a surge it has been. Mitt Romney has gotten about the same amount of votes as he did in 2008. In Iowa, basically the same number. In New Hampshire, a few percentage points more. Ron Paul tripled his vote in New Hampshire. He more than doubled his vote in Iowa. I think what's going on, obviously, is that since then we've had a financial crisis, a lot of which was predicted by people like Ron Paul and his kind of school of Austrian economics, which focuses very heavily on the Federal Reserve and government-created bubbles and then what damage they can do when they collapse. The real estate bubble has since collapsed, and we've seen the damage done since then. And we've also seen in these sort of bailout economics, bipartisan bailout economics, the kind of which the Mitt Romney and everybody else has supported, this transfer, as he put it, of money from everyday taxpayers to Wall Street bankers and their politically connected friends. And this has infuriated people on the left and the right. And Ron Paul is about the only guy out there who has a coherent kind of articulation against that. That plus wars. I mean, wars are not any more popular than they were before. They're less popular than ever. And you have this guy who is out of step with Democrats. He's out of step with Republicans. He's the only major presidential candidate out there who is talking about bringing the troops home, ending the drug war, and heading off this catastrophe that we're seeing by drastically reducing government encroachment into our lives. So people are finding that attractive.
Now, Matt, I want to bring in the whole element of the youth vote into this discussion. I mean, we have a 76-year-old congressman whose biggest base consists of young voters, many of whom weren't even born when he first ran for president back in 1988. And the sort of energy, the fan base that he has among those younger supporters, I mean, it reminds me of, I don't know, Beatlemania or even Obama back in 2008. And I want to play you a quick soundbite of sort of illustrating that. Let's play that.
I believe in his beliefs about liberty, peace. I believe in his foreign policy.
Here is this man who has defended the Constitution and defended liberty in Congress. He's my personal political hero.
Now, he took a whopping 47% of the youth vote in New Hampshire, 48% in Iowa. I mean, is Ron Paul in 2012 what Obama was to the youth vote back in 2008?
Not quite, but there's definitely some commonalities there. I was talking on a panel discussion today with someone who's younger than I am, and she pointed out, hey, you know, for people who are in their 20s, they have not been adults at a time we weren't at war. You know, it's 11 years now, or 10 plus after 9/11. People are really sick of it. And there's something to be said about a guy who's completely unvarnished. There is nothing bolted or consultant-driven about the Ron Paul campaign, as anyone who watched his speech last night will attest. And that's attractive to young people. They look at authenticity, regardless of whether you agree with everything that he says. And I don't think anyone really agrees with everything that Ron Paul says
But on the young voter issue, I'm sorry to
generally-
interrupt you there. Is there any sense or any indication that the former Obama youth supporters are switching over to Ron Paul, or is it a separate sort of group?
Actually, young voters are more likely to be independent than ever, and these people want.
All right, well, I think we had a little bit of a technical glitch there. Hopefully we'll be able to bring Matt Welch for you there. But that was editor-in-chief of A Reason magazine, Matt Welch, talking about the surprising surge in support for Ron Paul. He took second place in the New Hampshire primary. And, of course, a lot of responsibility behind that is the youth vote, which is seemingly turning out for him in droves.